Call the order to order the October 19th, 2021 Park Recreation Forestry Board meeting. Roll call, please.
Mark Castonia.
Here.
Donovan Miller.
Here.
Tracy Flukie. Here. Aideen Hess.
Here.
Deborah Lundberg.
Here.
Heidi Murphy is excused, as is Chris Serble.
Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
America,
America,
for which it stands, nation, justice.
Thank you. Item 4, action on the agenda.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to accept the agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Comments from the public? Do we have any public? Doesn't look like it. Are there any written communications that,
There's, I'm sorry, there is a note from the Ashwaubenon Historical Society in the packet, written to Rex.
let's see. Here's a note from the Ashwaubenon Historical Society, I guess thanking us for something or the other.
Yeah, they were one of the food truck
Yes.
recipients of the food truck donations for one of our events. So there's just a thank you for that.
And offering to work with us on any projects upcoming, okay. Action on consent agreement. A motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
I moved a second to accept the minutes from the last meeting. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Item 8A, discussion and possible action on memorial benches at Sherwood Forest.
All right. I just thought this one would be best to bring to the board. It's an interesting situation. We've got a great memorial bench / tree program, whether it be in memory of someone, in honor of someone, or just to recognize a particular business or individual or organization. And it's working out real well. We've had it in place, since I've been here. And every year we get, a good amount of tree donations to help beautify and our parks and expand our urban forest. We get a couple of bench donations, which we strategically place, whether it's along pathways, around playgrounds, different spots that we think are appropriate to be used. And it's been working great, like I said, for 15 years plus. We've never had a park fill up before. But obviously, as with anything, if people are, very, what's the best way for me to say it? If people really like a particular facility, it certainly can happen, and it's happening at Sherwood Forest. As you know, Sherwood Forest is over a 30-acre park. Beautiful, tranquil walking trails. That's where we have our tree arboretum. We have the pond there, a couple of really nice bridges. The walking paths are 10-foot wide gravel and then probably a couple extra feet on each side. There are dozens of people walking in there. Literally, I was there with my wife and my dog this past Sunday, and there were dozens of people walking in there. We just got done adding in the new trail, which is on the north side of the pond and along the channel, which goes east-west. And it's turned out real well. We've gotten many positive comments on it already. And if anyone has had a chance to go check it out, please do so. We think it's turned out well. The trail traverses several boardwalks, several wetland areas, and that's how we kind of did it. We put in boardwalks, with the DNR regulations, worked with the DNR and so on and so forth, we think the trails turned out really nice, long story short. Within the last couple of weeks, we've already gotten 3 requests to put in a bench donation along that trail. And I can historically, I've always been kind of it's my role to decide where things should be placed, what is needed, in what capacity is something needed. And I haven't had an issue doing it. A memorial bench is very near and dear to many people. It pulls on a lot of emotional strings when people are wanting or asking to place something in a park in honor or in memory of someone that was very beloved to them. And we're at that point in Sherwood, in my own personal opinion. We've got a lot of benches right now. I know we have 5 benches in Sherwood right now. The new trail does not have any. However, there are some challenges putting things in the new trail because of the wetland areas that have to be crossed and the boardwalks, which would preclude us from being able to get any heavier equipment in there if we wanted to pour concrete or things like that. It's definitely more of a challenge, certainly more of a cost expense, but I'm not even worried about the cost expense. In my own personal opinion, I wonder if we're at that point where do we need any more benches, basically, because we have a number of them around the pond right now. We've got one at the Smithville entrance. I suppose we could put one over at the Mesa entrance, but the requests that are coming in are along the new trail. We still have some plans along that new trail. We've planted we've ordered wildflower seed. So in a lot of those areas overlooking the pond, and as well as to the south, and also to the north, we're going to be sowing some of these wildflower seeds this fall, late enough so they don't germinate, hoping then for the spring germination, so we'll have some nice wildflower patches to make it a very natural trail. And that's, in my own personal opinion, that's kind of how I've envisioned it, but it's not my trail. It is for the community. And I guess I wanted to bring it to the board because of these extra requests. I mean, to make sure one way or the other, it doesn't matter to me. It's just my personal opinion right now of whether we need any more benches at Sherwood. I don't want it to become cluttered with benches and such. And I know that sounds harsh for someone that may be wanting to donate it, but it's also very true. How many benches is too many benches? Do you want a bench every 25 yards, every 50 yards, or do you want a natural trail to walk on? And there are some benches on the south side of the channel and pond as well, and in some other areas. There's one in the Arboretum and one on Smithville. But it's not a decision that I felt comfortable with just telling everybody, nope, we're full. I wanted to bring it for the board. I'm hoping that you guys have some opinions one way or another, where maybe you could direct me of whether to continue to accept or not. Now, one of the other things that I thought about is, what can we do other than just place benches? Sometimes you'd like to try and find an alternate thing, where if someone wants someone's name in a park, and we haven't, for the tree donations, we have the plaques actually right outside the village board chambers here on the wall, where we etch people's names in a leaf. They're tree plaques. And that signifies their donation to the village to have a tree planted in someone's name in a park. And I'm thinking, we could try something where we have like a memorial board or memorial rock where there's multiple names in one area, basically taking something like that, making it weatherproof and putting it out in a park area if someone wanted to do trees. In lieu of a bench, I don't know. I guess I'll stop talking, and hopefully you've got some opinions on what you think of Sherwood Forest and just the bench program and placing more benches in there. Like I said, and I'll end it at this for me for a few minutes anyway, I don't care. My personal opinion is not what, the village's overall opinion may be, and you guys are the ones that will direct us in terms of what you feel is best for that facility. So that being said, I'll pass it back to you.
Does anybody have any comments they would like to add?
So I just took a walk through there, probably about an hour and a half ago. And you've got 2 benches on the south side. Then you've got a bench on the west side, correct? And then coming off of the trail that goes around the pond, heading towards the west, there's a bench not too far down from there. So you got literally 4 benches in relatively close proximity. And then I'm not sure exactly where your 5th bench is.
Oh, over by Smithville.
What?
Over by the entrance by Smithville,
Okay.
which is on the west side of the Arboretum.
And I understand your concern of getting a balance between multiple entities and functionality of a particular park. I guess it's my viewpoint at this particular point in time that there are sufficient benches around there. On the east side, you're bordering Shady Lane, and I think from an aesthetic value, what you've got there currently is sufficient. Now, if there were a bench some other place in the park, for a person that's walking some distance, maybe they had, different physical abilities and needed to take a break, that might be something else. But I think you got 4 benches in close proximity near that pond already.
I walked it as well. I was probably there when you were there, Dean. Or I biked it, I should say. And the new trail looks great, and the new boardwalk looks great. I think you did a nice job on that. With this particular agenda item, I mean, ultimately, Rex, it's your job to make that decision. You know what you want in the parks or how, and it's great that people want to donate. I think it's just phenomenal that they want to do that, and I appreciate everyone doing that.
It's a good problem to have.
It's a very good problem to have, but ultimately, I see it as your decision because you know exactly what's out there and what's not out there. We're not as cognizant of that. And if there just isn't space, there isn't space. That's your choice to say no, and then maybe try to encourage people to maybe go to another park or another area or, some other way that they can have a memory of their loved one or whatever they want to put in there. I think it's just too hard, in my opinion, as a board member to make, and maybe this is just a one-time thing for Sherwood, but for us to be making those decisions on whether a bench should be placed here or there, I think ultimately it's your decision, and you should, make it to the best of your knowledge and what you think is best for that particular park.
I like what you all had to say. I agree with you. And would it be possible to have like a flowering bush as a memorial for somebody and you still maintain the natural habitat?
It certainly can be. Like I said, Deb, we've got a tree program. That's certainly not the end all for what potentially could be donated. And I would be happy to work with any individual or family, on a donation at any park, really, and always have been. And we've had some great donations from community members and community organizations that have helped out our parks and at our facilities. So yes, bottom line is I'm always willing to talk with people and find out if there's some way that we can, accept something that we would feel would benefit the facility.
Is there a particular reason why we can't put a plaque by the trees located at the tree rather than just on the wall in here?
Well, I will say right now, we're on our third plaque in the hallway, so we're probably talking, what is it, probably 20, 25 per plaque. So right now, we're probably closing in on 70 tree donations since the program started. And it kind of like what we just talked about on the benches, I've been reticent to put something next to or on a tree because all of a sudden now you've got all these stones with plaques, or you don't want to hang anything on the tree because that can easily be taken off. So then the other option is to have a plaque put on a stone and put the stone at the base of the tree. And now you've got, all these trees that have stones and plaques. And again, I don't know if that is necessarily the look that we want. In my mind, it has not been, which is why we in the past have gone with the plaque donation in recognition here at Village Hall.
Has anybody ever suggested any types of memorials other than a bench or a tree?
Well, we've had many donations in the past. We had in honor of Steve Kidd, Mary Kidd donated a special swing over at Clipstein, which was a great donation a couple of years ago. Ashwaubenon Lions Club did a wonderful donation of a Moby mat over at Ashwaubenon Lake within the last year. We had a dedication this summer. So there's been a lot of other types of donations that have been out there. In addition to the trees and the benches. And like I said, we've always been willing to work with, a family or an individual if they so choose.
So I was there last night, took a nice short, long, I should say, brisk walk through the long.
Sure.
And I don't, as far as around the pond, totally agree. We're not polluted with benches, but there's adequate benches. Only on one side. Obvious reason is we didn't have a trail on the north side, right?
Correct.
So
just put in.
There's a spot at the front of the pond near Smith, which would be perfect. However, there's a pump there. I don't think that's a great spot for a bench. So I would take that out. If I put my bench there and I'd sit on my bench, I'd hear the pump and be like, oh, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
There's one spot up on the top edge of the pond where there could be a bench. But we already have, I feel enough benches. If there were to be another bench, along with what Dean said, I think it would be back further for someone who is out for a walk and isn't physically at the point where they can walk the whole thing. That's where I would put a bench if I were to put a bench in there. My thought was, what about a picnic area? 8x8 pavers, name on the pavers, we already have some of those spots that were cut out, cleared out. Maybe utilize one of those with a little picnic table. You have the story in the woods, right? You're walking through, you could stop and have a picnic lunch. That was my thought last night as I'm walking through. There's no other spot per se for it, right?
Sure.
I don't know what a picnic table does when it's 20 yards into a woods. I don't know if the picnic table disappears, but it was just a thought.
Yep.
You sell the pavers, everybody contributes to that. I know, and then we got garbage and we got all sorts of things we got to worry about, but
Sure.
it was an idea that I had last night. I do like the donate the tree and have an on-site, and if there were trees that were donated to Smith, those placards could move into your display there. That's a great idea. But benches, I see benches even further from where those benches are.
Yep.
You got people coming from trails coming from everywhere.
Yep.
Just in that intersection towards the back.
Okay.
That's really my thoughts. Around the park area though, or the pond area.
I know, it's hard because a lot of people have, a lot of memories if they walk with their parents or walk with their wife or their husband and whatnot. So it's, like I said, it's a little bit of a tricky situation, but I appreciate everyone's feedback and
Do you ever get requests for benches for other parks like Hidden Valley or?
I've not gotten any for Hidden Valley, but we've got memorial benches, donation benches at numerous parks. Smith Park has them. Ashwaubenon has multiple. We just put one in at Fort Howard this past fall. So, yeah, and I know I'm missing, there's got to be at least 7 or 8 parks that have them.
And Sherwood seems to be the hot topic right now because of the new trail.
It is.
Yeah.
Rex, I think each park has its own unique characteristic of what type of functionality it really offers. And I take a look at, Hidden Valley, for an example, I take a look at Sherwood, and both of those are heavily wooded areas, which to me, it sets kind of a tone for a basic functional purpose for that park, of more of a natural setting, nature setting, if you will, compared to the Ashwaubenon Sports Complex. Okay, lends itself to a little different purpose. And I think it's nice in a village to have a mixture of different functionalities for different parks. And I see Sherwood as well as Hidden Valley one to, maybe have a little less in it for that type of park, and affords itself to that nice natural walk, taking a nice hike, and you don't have a lot of stuff around. I'm not saying you wouldn't have some things around, most certainly, to meet some of the needs, but I think there becomes that transition point, I think was what you're grasping at. How much do we put in it?
Developed versus natural.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate everyone's feedback.
This is for discussion only, I assume you don't need.
Yeah, I mean, from I'll be honest, from everyone's feedback and then from what I envision as the director of the department, I'm probably going to try and steer people to another type of donation or donate a bench in a different park than where we currently are at.
But this can be kind of an ongoing thing too, is that people come up with different ideas for memorials. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Item 8B, the Ashwaubenon Lake.
I don't know
report.
if you want to pass the baton back to Chris now.
No, he's late.
No, that's okay. I'm sure Mark's doing a fun. Apologies to everybody. I thought the meeting got switched to 6, not 5:30. My fault. I had it wrong on my calendar.
All right. So Chris, I guess we're on number 2.
8B.
8B.
Are you throwing it to me?
Yep.
Okay.
So Melody Escoto, who is our aquatics coordinator, is here to talk about how the 2021 lake season went. Mel?
First of all, I'm glad to be back. I had that little year hiatus there, so I'm happy to be presenting this to you again.
You don't know how happy she is.
You have no idea. My little aquatic heart was pretty sad last year when we didn't have the lake open. That was the first time in 20 years I hadn't spent my summer at a pool, managing a pool or a lake. So that was a hard one for me. I had done it since I was 15. So this year I can tell you all about the lake. So in your pamphlets, you guys have the financials, which I've presented to you before. So you guys can kind of all see it laid out. If you guys have any questions as I kind of go along here, just chime in and I'll answer the best that I can. So just going over a couple things. Attendance was a little less than we had in 2019. Nothing terrible. Some of that I think maybe had to do with COVID. Some of our groups, the larger daycares that normally come, they weren't making those trips. So I think some of that fluctuates. But in saying that, also our passes were up quite a bit this year. So people are still buying the passes to come. Maybe they just weren't attending as much as normal. But as far as attendance numbers, it was pretty in line with how things are going. Same with concession sales. Those are pretty spot on to what they had been. There were some challenges with concessions this year, getting products, just like everyone has supply chain issues. I mean, sometimes Pepsi didn't even have Diet Pepsi. So we were, working through making sure that we had the products and switching out what we could to keep those concession sales up. I think that my biggest challenge this summer, and endeavor this summer, was staffing. So everyone obviously has a staffing kind of shortage going on, but there actually is a national lifeguard shortage that's been going on for quite a while now. So coming into this year, I knew that with being off a whole year, you don't get lifeguards in that age group for very long. So I knew coming in it was going to be kind of, a lot of work to put my staff together. And coming into this summer, when we put out our requests of who's coming back, I only had 9 people out of the 30 that I needed to come back. So I really kind of had my work cut out for me, and I held extra lifeguard classes, and I was very pleased and happy to say that we were full staffed by opening week. So it took a lot. We did do some changes. Rex and I had a discussion. Previous to this season, we hadn't hired 15-year-old lifeguards. About 2.5 years ago, the Visitors Bureau kind of got together like Noah's Ark and they changed the lifeguarding age from 16 to 15. I hadn't moved to hiring 15-year-olds yet. However, in what we were doing now, I kind of needed to look into that. And I found in a lot of the lifeguarding classes that kids are just kind of built different now. And there were some pretty strong swimmers at 15, so I felt pretty confident with that. And so I did have a lot of new staff. With that, they did an awesome job kind of, training. We had to add extra trainings in there. Many of the lifeguards that come to me or that I train, we all train in a pool. And so the lake is kind of its own beast. It's different than anything they've learned before. You can't see anybody once they go under the water. So you have to teach them, how to scan different ways and different waterfront things. So I know that some of my hours, especially in the lake personnel, some of those are a little bit more, but we had to do more training than I've ever had to do to get these kids where they needed to be to keep the lake safe and operating effectively. So that was definitely a challenge this year, but I'm glad to say I know a lot of other local municipalities struggled a lot with staffing and even weren't able to open. So I'm happy that we, didn't have to face that. Another addition that we had this year was, like Rex had mentioned earlier, was our ADA Moby mat. We did do kind of like a press release and a big reveal of that. It was supposed to be in the 2020 season. The Lions so graciously donated all the money for that. And that was well used this summer. I got a lot of compliments. We got a lot of positive feedback on that mat. It goes straight from the door of the chalet into the water. So anybody using a wheelchair or any sort of device could head right into the lake if they wanted. And then we had some kind of wings that were set off that if they wanted to just enjoy time with their family on the beach, they were able to do that. And it was very, very used this summer. So that was nice. We did have some food truck rally events. We moved them to the lake this year. I think we had done like movies in the park. Those were fun. We played lots of games with the kids, so we partnered with Rex and on those food truck events, and hopefully we plan to do that again next summer. Other than that, being open this season, obviously for me, I was pretty excited about that, but I think people really enjoyed that it was open. The lake is unique in the fact that we have so much space out there. And this was probably the first year that I've seen that people really used that. People were really going on the far side of the lake and spreading themselves out. And I think being able to offer that to them was, something they liked, and they utilized that space out there. So, and we had made plans to be able to offer the most COVID-safe facility. I know that we had done it in 2020 with the hopes of opening with all the remote or touchless, hands washing stations and the paper towel. And we used those all year, and we had sanitizing stations. And I think we did not have any complaints about anything, COVID related this summer. So I think as far as opening after all of this and after a whole year closed, I think that it was, pretty successful. So. Anyone have any questions?
This might be directed more towards Rex, but the food truck season, any financials or any idea how we ended up bottom line on that?
Well, it depends if you want to figure in my time and David's time. Notwithstanding full-time costs, we were in the black on that.
Okay.
And May rally got out of the gate, unbelievable numbers. We weren't prepared for that. We knew there was going to be bigger, but it was like way bigger than we expected. And then the June rally was rained, so we had 5 rallies scheduled. 4 of them happened because the June rally got rained out. We canceled that early in the morning, so the only loss on that rally was the advertising expenses that we had done on Facebook, the couple of weeks prior, because you put your ads on Facebook for people to see, that type of thing. The July, August, and even the September rally, July and August went well. I mean, the lake was still open. July still had baseball going on. So there were extra activities there that had a natural built-in audience for the food truck rally. And remember, each food truck rally also has a band. Those went over well. September always is a little bit different because it is basically just the food truck rally and the band. There's no lake, there's no baseball. So if people are going there, they're going there for that event in and of itself. And that event was, the September rally was very successful. We tried to parlay a little bit of it into like an Oktoberfest rally, which we're going to try and spin off a little bit more on next year even. But Chris, they went really well. They went very well. I think a lot of nice crowds, a lot of people. Obviously, the ones to tell you if they went well are the food trucks, because they take their time and they're paying us money to be there. That's what helps cover the cost of the bands, as well as some of the business donations that are out there. And all the food trucks, are interested in coming back next year. There might have been 1 or 2 that were a little shaky, but in my opinion, the ones that do a good job of marketing themselves elsewhere in the Green Bay area and have their own Facebook pages and have done a nice job with their trucks, they all did well and are excited for next year's rallies already.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
The only thing I had to say, Melody, was great job. I think all things considered that you did a good job pulling those numbers back, and you were low, but it was anybody's game this year, right? So
It was definitely, we had no idea what to expect. So I think that coming out, a year off, I think we'll be back in action in no time.
We're fortunate that the community pool is at the school district. Mel does a really good job of recruitment with people. She gets to know a lot of the people from the swim club, the boys and girls swim teams, the other groups and organizations that are there that rent the pool for swim time and so on and so forth. And Mel's a recruiter. She's constantly recruiting, talking to people, saying, hey, what about this? What about that? Did you ever think about this? Hey, notice you're a really strong swimmer. What, did you ever think about working at the lake? Sure, let me tell you, it's really easy to do the application. She's a talker on it, and I'll be honest, that is the reason why we were able to be staffed and open this summer, because of the relationship Melody has with the user groups and the people that are at that facility. In fact, there were some swim team people that came up to Mel during swim meets from other schools that said, how do you guys ever need any lifeguards, so on and so forth. We've got a good reputation of being a fun place to work. Mel has, like she talked a little bit earlier, she has her weekly staff meetings out at the lake and trainings for specific lake-type scenarios, and she does a great job with the trainings at the pool, and quite honestly, that word gets around. And so, feather in your cap.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
I think this year I even hired my dental hygienist's son just because I was getting a teeth cleaning and she said she had a 16-year-old boy that knew how to swim. Oh, I was all over that. So I did hire him this year, but turned out great. So it was definitely an interesting summer in getting staff, but I really have a great group of kids out there. And as hard as it was this summer, and as new as my staff is, I will have them that much longer. Now I get them for the 3 years if I'm lucky, instead of getting them at 16, 17, and only getting one or two good years with them. So I'm hoping that with this young staff, I really will be able to hold on to them a little bit longer. So.
Good. Anybody have any questions about the financials, concessions? Mel didn't really talk about the rescues and the responsibility that is on the younger kids. I always say it's a successful swim season, not based on revenues, profit loss, but based on if there's any emergency situations and how they were handled, and what was the result of any of those emergency situations. Mel had 27, her staff had 27 saves, so they have to go in the water 27 times throughout the course of the summer to rescue people. And for a 15, 16, 17-year-old, I mean, that's heady stuff. People have the image of hanging out in the lifeguard stand, twirling the whistle from some of the Baywatch, stuff that has been out there for years, and that's the image a lot of people have. But I mean, there are people that overestimate their swimming ability, that get in trouble, and are in need of major help at times. And her staff was able to, bring those folks in, and before anything serious happened. And it's not even sometimes bad decisions by a swimmer on what their swimming ability is. There were several seizures people had in the water just due to medical conditions, where they needed to be brought into shore and rescued. And again, her staff, was involved in every one of those. And again, heady stuff for young kids, but with the training that was done, and the teamwork that's out there, things worked out well. So again, Mel, nice job.
Thanks. Yeah, this summer was different. We did have 2 pretty serious incidents out there, not related to the staff, but watching the staff perform the emergency action plan appropriately at such a young age, and being able to talk about it and learn about it. It was a good year for them. They really worked hard, and 21,811 people came to our facility, but 21,811 people left our facility. And that's kind of the number that I work with on the kids, is that's so very important. So yes, it was a good summer. I was happy to be there. I was there a lot more this summer, making sure that everything's running smooth, but I was happy to be back.
I just have a quick question on the passes. You said the pass sales were down this year from past years? Oh, up you said?
This year. Yep,
okay.
Up this year than they were in past years. And I know some of our numbers haven't quite come in yet, like our water fill and our water flow numbers. Those aren't, the meters are getting pulled and all of that kind of stuff. So those haven't quite come in yet, but yeah.
What do we typically have for passes? I mean, just to give me an idea, like it's at 8,400 this year. What has it typically been? Is it $1,000 more or 500?
Well, we're more like the 5,000 mark. Well,
Okay.
in 18, we went down a little bit. So if you look on the second page, you can see
Yep,
the
yep.
year.
Yep.
year by year. So this year, we kind of jumped back up to where we normally have been. And so that was nice to see, that more people were getting those passes. But I don't know if it had to do with other facilities not being open or how that worked, but we'll take that. I mean, I thought we had generally good crowds each day and very manageable for the staff, so.
Okay. Well, thanks for all your hard work, Melanie.
Yes,
On a
absolutely.
successful year. Much appreciated.
Thanks.
Anything else? Any other questions? We'll move on to C. Update discussion on 2021 Ashwaubenon Park Program and Summer Day Camp Report.
And David Rohrig, our recreation supervisor, is here to give all the great information. So, David, you're up.
Awesome, thank you. So we will start off with our park program report. Obviously, this summer was a little bit easier on us than it was last year. Last year, everything was just so much up in the air, a lot of uncertainty around COVID. But it seemed to get quite a bit better for the 2021 summer, which obviously made my life a lot easier and I think made our residents' lives more enjoyable, being able to send out their kids to enjoy our parks. So if you'll take a look at our first page here, as far as park program report, Allie, who is she was our summer intern this year. You'll notice a lot of numbers. She's actually going to school to be an actuary. So it's pretty detailed as far as numbers go. But it gives you really just a good breakdown of what parks were busiest, what parks were not as busy, different crafts, different, trivia games, different things that we run at the park program. We also run 3 special events out of Pioneer Park during the summer. We've got numbers for those. And then this year we had 1 scheduled bus trip, and then we added a second one later. When we originally scheduled the trips, that was back, January, February, pre-vaccine stuff and mask mandates and stuff like that. So once things opened up a little bit more, we noticed that people were starting to sign up for things more freely. So we decided to offer a second trip during the summer. But our hope is next year we'll be back to 3 trips like we've offered in the past. Just kind of going through our summer totals. One thing you'll kind of notice is the last few years we had not had park program at Argonne, and that was just based off of participation numbers that we've had the past few years before we made that decision. This year, because of COVID, we moved park program from Valley View School back over to Argonne. So we really had 2 park programs, I guess, just in the very close vicinity to each other. So I think they kind of cannibalize each other as far as numbers went. So if you look at Argonne and Canterbury, they're going to be 2 out of our 3 lowest park attendance numbers. So we'll kind of get into that a little bit later here. But Fort Howard, Sand Acres, Smith Park, popular every single year. As far as total visits go, we had 3,440 total park visits for the program this year. Not fully up to pre-COVID numbers. Pre-COVID numbers are going to be mid to high 4,000s for visits. But last year, we were, I think, under 2,000. So we were over double what we were at last year, but we were able to open all 7 parks again this year. 2020, we only had 3 parks that were open. The parks that we opened in 2020 were our major parks, and we kind of tried to spread them out throughout the village. And they were parks that historically we've had 2 staff members at. So 2020, we had 1 staff basically playing with the kids, and the other staff person spent the other time cleaning, which we didn't have to do as much in 2021, just as we kind of know more about the virus and how it's spread. going back to the Canterbury Argonne and the lower attendance, our plan for 2022 is to actually do, I guess, an alternating schedule for those parks. I think both parks have a lot to offer. Canterbury historically has had a little bit better attendance than Argonne, but Argonne's got a beautiful brand new playground. So we're looking at actually going to try to do a split park where 3 days we do, Canterbury, and maybe 2 days we do at Argonne. We've talked a little bit about moving back to Valley View, but it's nice to have that separation from day camp. And then just this last summer, they really started offering a lot of summer school classes and programs there.
At Valley View.
At Valley View. So you got day camp already there, and then you have a lot of the younger kids for summer school. So that playground is it's really overly crowded, especially in the morning time. That I just don't think it's a good fit anymore for the park program there. By doing that, we're looking to save on staff costs. We're going to have to hire one less staff during the summer. That'll save us just over $3,000 annually. Where we want to kind of direct some of those funds to are the special events. The special events that we offer, I think, are unique. It's fun to bring all the different parks together and have kind of competitions between the different neighborhoods. But when we offer those special events, they're in the afternoon on a weekday, usually 1:30 to 4:30 time frame. So working families often struggle to get their kids to those special events. So we would actually use some of those funds for busing to kind of go around the village and pick up kids and then actually bring them to the special events. So I said save a little bit of money and then hopefully get more attendance at our special events that we put a lot of work into. So last year we had 3 park program special events. Amazing Race had 30 kids show up. Survivor, we had 37, and then Water Olympics, which is usually our most popular, also had 37. So like I said, we'd like to continue doing 3 of those, but hopefully get more kids involved in that.
There's room to grow, and I think the busing will, using the bus to pick kids up at different parks and bringing them over to Pioneer, I think will help a lot.
And there is, like I said,
I'm going to date myself a little bit. That's what used to happen because I grew up in Ashwaubenon parks as well, and that's what used to happen back in the day. And that's the only reason I was able to go to the special events is, jump on the bus and head over to some place across the busy road that my mom wouldn't normally let me ride my bike to. So we're thinking that we're going to try it anyway. We certainly think that'll be a big plus.
And they have a lot of fun with those special events. They do all kinds of different games, from scavenger hunts to relay races, balloon toss. We've tried to do based on popular TV shows and stuff like that. So we've had kids eating weird combinations of food like mayonnaise and ketchup and mustard with gummy worms in it. So all different things that we've done in the past, but those are definitely super fun events that we offer. And then once again, we did partner with the Ashwaubenon School District to offer the free summer lunch program. The past few years it had just been at Fort Howard, but this year we were also able to offer it at Smith Park as well. 2021, they actually passed out over 1,500 lunches and over 1,500 breakfast snacks. So I think that's a great program that we're offering for our community, and it's definitely getting a lot of use in our park system. That is all I have for the park program report. Are there any questions about that portion?
This year, the special events that were at Pioneer, were those kind of run the same way you want to run them in the future, where you had kind of the different parks that were competing against each other? Is that what you did?
Yeah,
but the attendance was low because the kids couldn't get there.
Yeah, they usually like
Easily.
to team up with the people that they know, and it's kind of funny how I guess, attached the kids get to their certain parky. They always think their parky is the best, so
Oh, right.
the parky kind of leads the team, and like I said, they kind of like to make it a competition.
Yeah, fun.
What's the age group for these groups? What are the ages?
Usually 6 to 13.
6 to 13.
And I should say, it's a drop-in program. Obviously, it's one of the cornerstones of our department of the Recreation Division, anyway. We have the kids unofficially register. We've got little registration cards where we ask, at the beginning of the season, first couple days, we're open. Kids write down their name and their addresses and their phone emergency numbers, mom's emergency number, how do you get a hold of someone in case you would get hurt, that type of thing. They don't have to do it, but we ask that they do it. And it's worked out pretty well. So again, the park program has always been a free drop-in type of program. But we are still trying to keep track of kids in terms of, in case there's an emergency, how do we contact them? So we do have a little, file folder basically with that information in it.
And kids will come check in for an hour, hang out, ride their bikes to a different park, play over there for a little bit, go do something off, play a baseball game somewhere else, and then, come back in the afternoon too. So it's kind of come and go as you want.
David, do you anticipate any other changes to the program besides the one that you said with adding the busing, combining Argonne and Canterbury? Any other parks, any changes there at all that you're thinking, or anything else?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. We also had staffing issues last year, so actually every parky that we had this season was brand new.
Every
parky.
Wow.
So sometimes it's good to get a complete fresh start, but hiring that many,
they're all swimming.
18, 19-year-old kids, you don't know exactly what you're always going to get, but they did a good job. So.
And I know you haven't brought this up, but we did, I don't want to say bend, but we had to modify our rules typically to be a parky. You're a graduating senior, and I believe we had at least one, if not a couple this year, where they were juniors that we hired on, and we placed them with someone who was a year older than them. We placed those younger parkies at parks that had a little bit older parky, so they weren't off on their own, the youngest ones, but to be able to staff, that's what we wound up having to do. So I don't know if that will be the trend. Kind of looks like it right now, looking at some of the job boards that are out there, but we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, thanks, David, for all your hard work on this past summer.
Next up would be our day camp report. 2021 obviously went a lot better than 2020. Just, I guess, a little history of our program. It was our 7th year running day camp, and it was one of those programs that just kept on getting more and more popular. In 2020, before COVID hit, we had a registration day completely sold out, 2 hours. 55 plus kids every week. COVID hit and numbers went down and down and down and down. So instead of our normal 50 to 51 kids that we average per week, we ended up averaging just over 30 kids per week in 2020. So 2021 registration happens early February, mid-February. Registration, there were the diehard people that came and waited in line at 6 o'clock at the community center, got signed up, but nowhere near full. As people started to get more and more comfortable with what was going on, a couple people every week would sign up. We ended up at just over 48 kids per week, so pretty close to pre-COVID numbers. Like I said, I think 2019 we were at 51, 2020 just over 30, and then back up to 48. So that was really nice to see. Just that people came back. Hopefully they saw that we did a good job in 2020, keeping the kids safe, doing whatever we had to do as far as cleaning procedures and policies just to make it work. So I guess that was super encouraging to see. As far as profits, this year we were at approximately $1,500, which was up from 2020. It's not where I want it to be compared to previous years, just because we've had to do extra staffing, morning and pickup. We've tried to limit the number of people that go in and out of the schools. Just working with the school district, that's one of the policies that we decided, kind of less people to transfer the virus that way. So we've had an extra staff person in the morning, extra staff person in the evening for pickup. They actually meet the families by the front door, make sure the kids are okay to come in, and then send them into the gym to be with the other kids. And then kind of, I guess, the opposite procedure coming out. So a little bit more expense that way. And then busing fees have been a little bit more pricey than they have been in the past. There's additional COVID surcharges and things that they can tack on to your bill that kind of add up on you pretty quickly. So hopefully as things continue to get hopefully better, we'll see some of those added expenses decrease, and then revenue hopefully back up to where we were 2018, 2019 range. So campers were allowed to go swimming at the Ashwaubenon Community Pool again this year. We weren't able to do that in 2020, so it was nice for them to get back into the pool twice a week. We actually took field trips each of the 10 weeks. 4th of July week, we actually take 2 field trips to make up for usually missing a day for the 4th of July. I think as far as camps in the area go, I think we do a very good job trying to go to unique places, not just local places, but we travel down to Sheboygan to go to Blue Harbor. We go to Manitowoc, Oshkosh, different aquatic centers, Timber Rattlers, baseball games. We try to go to, I think, places that, families might not necessarily go to just because of the convenience factor. So we're always looking for new places, willing to try out new places, just kind of keep it fresh so it's not the same field trips every single year. One challenge this year was buses. We still had to have the kids wear masks on the bus, but that was actually the only time at camp where they had to wear masks. 2020, whenever they were indoors, we had to wear masks, which is a challenge with how active our group is, if they're playing basketball or dodgeball in the gym, especially a gym that doesn't have air conditioning. It can get pretty toasty.
It will next time.
Yeah, so yeah, next year will be nice with air conditioning. So, so we're already in the process of basically having all the 2022 field trips picked. I've already booked a couple of them, and I'm in the process of getting the rest of them booked so that we can start marketing here in the next month or two through the weekly Wednesdays. And then, like I said, registration will open in February for 2022. I said hopefully we're back up to full capacity like we were pre-COVID. But the staff has done a good job the last 2 years keeping the kids safe and healthy. Last 2 years we haven't had to do any staff quarantines or actually close camp any of the days. So that was good to see.
I think one of David's big challenges next year, well, let me back up a second. Carrie Kornick was our day camp coordinator, and she's our 40-hour-a-week on-the-site organizer of the day camp, supervising all the kids, making sure policies are being followed. She's kind of the person who runs it on site. Carrie's was working for the YWCA for a number of years prior to us bringing her on board, running their day camp. She jumped ship, came to us when we started our program out 7 years ago, and she has been our full-time coordinator during the summer for the last 7 years. She's a teacher at Notre Dame of De Pere, and I need to give her a lot of kudos as well as David for her on-site supervision. But Carrie's moving on. She's done it for 7 years with us, prior years with the Y, and she's moving on to bigger and better things. I don't know what that might be, because I think this is pretty big and good to begin with, but.
We'll say school, she's going to school for a master's degree.
There you go, master's degree. That darn education.
Always getting in the way.
Yeah. But David's challenge this summer will be basically breaking in a new coordinator, because that's the person on site who makes that program go. How well, do they supervise the staff in terms of making sure that the staff are in tune with what's happening, making sure the kids are doing the right things, following safety practices, keeping things moving, not letting things get too boring, keeping things moving along on a time schedule, because every day is on a time schedule for every activity. And so the coordinator plays a really big role in the success. I know, so David will be challenged this coming summer in 22 to get someone on board who will try and fill at least part of Carrie's shoes for the first year, and make sure that it's as fun as always. So, questions on day camp in terms of any things that we have going on, or any information from the report that you see, attendance, policies, anything like that?
What age group is the day camp generally?
They have to be age 7, and then it goes up through age 12.
Okay.
So, and seven is kind of a big cutoff date as far as summer programs go. If you go younger in age, then there's basically a whole different set of guidelines that you need to follow. So that's why we start at age 7.
Okay.
Did you have any problem getting buses at all this summer?
We didn't, but I also know that some of the other camps in the area didn't run field trips, so I think that kind of helped us out. And we book every year, pretty far in advance. So,
What is your total staff numbers that you have typically?
we have Carrie, and then we normally have 7 counselors. Yep. So, and they usually work. They have like 2 openers, a couple people that come in, 9 o'clock, a couple people that come in at 10 o'clock, and a couple people that close. So.
Questions on day camp? Everybody good? All right, nice job, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. B, update on September and October Park Rec and Forestry Department report.
All right, a couple things that are winding up in the Recreation Division. David has been running our youth football program. As a reminder, that is the top league is ages 3 to 5, rookie is ages 6 and 7. Then we have 3rd and 4th grade leagues, as well as 5th and 6th grade leagues. I believe we had 4 teams in each one of the leagues, so for a total of 8 teams in league play, and then we probably had about 30 to 40 kids in each one of the tot and rookie classes in the morning. So a lot of football, a lot of young football players out at the sports complex on Saturday mornings. That is winding up this weekend, right, for the leagues?
The leagues are, yes, this weekend, and then the little kid class.
It's finished up, so successful seasons for that. Talked a little bit about the food truck rally already, the September one, and went over well. Again, our recommendation is we submitted in the budget for 5 food truck rallies again in 2022. very similar format. Our challenge is, I think the challenge for any program is how to keep it fresh. So it's not the same thing year after year after year. You sometimes have to have a little bit of pizzazz or a new shtick to it to get people to want to come back, so that it doesn't get old. And the bands are part of that, to get different bands out, different types of music, different food trucks. People always say, oh, I love this food truck. How come you don't have them again this week? Because we don't want to have the same food trucks every single week. We want to mix them up a little bit, so it's exciting for people to come and see who's there and try some different foods out. We think that's the best direction to go to keep things fresh. A lot of different programs going on. Senior programming is going real good. Our senior coordinator / community center supervisor, Rachel, is doing a good job. If you are interested in getting on the senior citizen email list, we put out monthly newsletters. We put out reminders on a weekly basis of what senior programs are coming up and the deadline to register for all those programs. We'd be happy, even if you're not a senior, if you just want to know what's going on, we're happy to get you on that list so you can kind of be in tune with what's happening out there in the senior programming area. Not all of the senior programming is even listed in the brochure. A lot of times opportunities come along from different speakers, from different organizations or different instructors, where the brochure's already printed, but we think it's a good idea that has some traction. And we get that information out to the community through our senior citizen newsletter and the emailings that we do. So it's not just what's in that brochure that comes out in the fall. It's also a lot of public relations, a lot of marketing, on Rachel and David's part throughout the year, every week basically, to let folks know what's happening. Forestry, that time of the year, we're taking down a lot of the flower beds, doing a lot of trimming, cutting, getting things ready to go for the winter. Some new bark beds. I guess the big thing, obviously, is EAB. It's always a big thing, will be a big thing for the next couple of years. Trios has almost completed, if they haven't fully completed, their street tree takedowns for 2021. I know I want to say that was about 150, 160 street trees. They still might have a few more to do, but those are down. The stumps have been ground out, and I believe the next round coming up within the next couple of weeks will be they'll be moving into some of the parks and starting to take the park trees down, the ash that have been marked. Unfortunately, some parks have a lot of ash, so we're going to be doing a lot of replanting, whether it be this fall, certainly in the spring. I'll be honest, Tim has his hands full. I mean, he could work 15 hours a day and still not have it all taken care of. There's just a lot of stuff to do with this many tree takedowns. People constantly calling, which is, we want them to have their trees evaluated. Is this EAB or is it something else? So Tim is doing a good job trying to, manage everything all at once. Occasionally that means for some leg time once in a while when we're responding to people. We might not get out to your house this week or next week. It might be 3 weeks from now because we have that much of a backlog with things that need to be done. But when people call up and they ask for some type of service, it's on the list. But because of the amount of trees and issues that we're dealing with out there with EAB, we just ask that people be as patient as possible with us. Aquatics, Mel did a good job with her aquatic report. She didn't really talk about the pool yet, but our Fall Learn to Swim program has 112 kids involved in swim lessons right now. Again, not up to pre-COVID numbers, which was over 150, but 112 is still doing pretty well. And then the high school PE classes will begin using the pool in October. I don't think they didn't even use the pool last year, did they?
This is the first time in 2 years that they've been in the pool.
For the high school.
Right?
Yeah.
In like the January, February, they were getting, so some of them, we're finding a lot of kids and not swim at all, so it's.
The marina pre-construction, the marina reconstruction project is complete. The bulbs that were put on are rebuilt at the end of the pier. Martel did a good job with that. Results from the soil borings in Ashwaubenon Creek for the proposed pedestrian bridge from Alden Station into the park. Those results actually just came back. I talked with Grafe Architects today. They'll be reviewing the results tomorrow. Excuse me. And we'll hear the news of how that is probably within a week or so. They have their soil experts taking a look at it and determine, how deep things need to go and how the bridge needs to be built based on where the bedrock is, how deep the bedrock is down, so on and so forth. West Main Avenue Trail. For a short stretch of trail, it has become a nightmare to deal with. There's utility lines that aren't marked, no one's claiming. Utility lines that were relocated that weren't relocated correctly, so that means retaining walls need to be moved, and it's moving along. However, it's moving along with challenges, and we're working through those challenges right now. So, but we don't know if we are going to be able to pave the trail this fall yet. That was our hope. We may need to take some TIF money and set it aside because we're trying to close that TIF 3 out next spring. But we may need to earmark some of that for final paving in 2022. Depends on how things go with the box culvert placement, so on and so forth. I know they're doing hydrovacing where that box culvert is supposed to go next week because they want to make sure there's no other surprises down there is when they're digging. We found, unfortunately, too many surprises. Some other stuff happening. At Kirchmar Field, we've had some drainage issues there, so we're trying to do a lot of core aerating as well as top dressing with different material to try and get that to drain a little bit better. This one's interesting. The village is going to be getting a grant from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. It has to do with insurance and how our insurance went this year and claims, so on and so forth. But we're going to be using a grant we're going to be purchasing better picnic tables for Ashwaubenon Lakes Shelter. We already have some of this nice steel tables with the plastisol covering on them out in front. And then our handicap table underneath the shelter is like that as well. We want to make all the tables like that and bolt them down so they can't be moved around so much easier than the wood tables that are in the shelter currently will go in our stock of tables that we can use for all of our special events. Because the food truck rallies have been so popular, we use every table that we have, short of bringing them in every week and bringing them back to other parks, which we don't want to do. That's not very staff efficient. So, this will give us the opportunity to make that picnic area by the lake look a lot nicer, and as well as have better stock of tables for some of our special events.
Rex, how much was the grant from the League of Municipalities? Do you remember?
$11,800.
11,000? Oh, nice.
Yep. There's forestry information. This is the October report. Letter sent to residents interested in participating in the street tree planting program. Still time to do that, but we need to order the trees if we haven't done so already. Talked a little bit about the EAB already. Dance and Palm began October 13th for the 2021 season. I'll give congratulations to David again. We had to totally modify our dance program this year. What do you think the problem was? Couldn't find dance instructors. Just like every other job that's out there up and down Oneida Street. People just didn't want to work. I mean, and it goes right on down to the kids, for whatever reason, involvement. We've never had issues in the past. We had to postpone the start of our dance program for a couple of weeks until we found someone who could do Wednesdays. And then we found someone who could help that person on Wednesdays. And literally, luckily, they're person who could only do Wednesdays was pretty hungry. So they're like literally doing all of our dance program on Wednesday nights. But David was really working overtime, trying to figure out and putting job announcements out there at the colleges, as we do every year, but just having to really beat the bushes to find people to work. So I finally got that off the ground, and that has started. So that's awesome. Our second fall Learn to Swim session, we had 62 kids involved, and I think that's about it for the park board. Does anyone have any questions about anything that's happening in our department, whether it be on the report or just something that you've seen or observed or heard about?
Rex, we used to, when I was on the park board a number of years ago, we used to have some involvement, and maybe we still do, but I haven't heard anything for a while with the community, Cornerstone Community Center. Do we not have any involvement or partnership with that anymore?
We do. They've had a meeting, which I was involved with maybe a month or two ago. It was a Zoom meeting, because that's how everyone's doing things these days. But they're doing well. In fact, they were one of the few places in the area last year that were bringing in heads and beds for the Visitor and Convention Bureau, because they with Chicago being shut down, Don Chilson, who manages Cornerstone, the ice center, was able to take a lot of those tournaments that were slated for Chicago and bring them up to Green Bay. So really, if it were not for that, I'll go as far to say there might be a few hotels that would be really struggling right now, or not able to make it. But he did a great job last year. I believe they just replaced, they've got a capital program going on, obviously, but I think they just replaced all the boards on rink number 1, which is the rink that St. Norbert uses.
Yeah.
So that'll have all brand-new boards this year. Tracy will probably laugh at this, but I think this is the first year in 20 years, because 20 years has gone away now. They no longer have to pay a fairly large amount for the parking lot lighting, because that was that was like a 20 years they had to, for 20 years they had to pay like $8,000 a year for the parking lot lighting. That was part of the agreement back in 2000, and so that has moved away now. So I think they're doing well. Well, I know they're doing well. I saw their financials. They're certainly covering their expenses, and they're able to, with the profits, they're paying down their loans that they have for the third sheet of ice. I think they might have paid off the loans for the first two sheets. So they might be down for I believe they're only, don't quote me on it, but I think if they're not done with the first 2 sheets, that first loan, they soon will be, which will only leave the loan for the third sheet of ice, which they're doing a good job of paying down as well. And then they're also able to take some of the revenue that's coming in and put it in a capital equipment fund, because there's always things that go wrong, whether it be with chillers or with the Zamboni machine or anything like that. Unexpected expenses always happen. And so they've been able to deal with those as they've come up. So I talk with Don about every other month or so. Just give them a call, and I either go out there and talk with them or stop in, or we do it over the phone if there's different issues or things like that. They're doing well.
Yeah. Okay, because in the years past, like I said before, when I was on a park board, we'd see financials on the board, and I just haven't seen anything since I've been back on the board again.
Sure.
What the situation was, and
If you'd like, I'd be happy to touch base with Don and maybe have him come in and give a report to the park board.
as long, it's part of it's part of the park and rec system, and probably not a bad idea to do. It's not
Sure.
a cheap thing to run, and
Yep.
I know he does a good job there. That's my opinion. I get people coming in to ask me once in a while, usually you'll just hear complaints. hockey rinks aren't easy to maintain, and you'll hear about,
They get beat up.
they get beat up, and I've been
Yep,
through enough of
literally,
them,
yep.
but I think this is one that's really well run.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, as long as it's part of the park and rec system, I think it's probably not a bad idea, at least every once in a while to hear something.
For those of you who are, we got a couple of new members here, but the Cornerstone Ice Center LLC, it's broken down into a couple different groups. There's a couple different layers of organizational management there. But we actually own the property that the Cornerstone Ice Center is on, but we lease that footprint to Cornerstone LLC. There's a 50-year lease, a dollar a year for them to run, and be in charge of the building that they've built. And the village, technically, it's probably our village, our building, but it's really their building. They've done all the fundraising. They've done everything for that building. You know what I mean? So they're raising the funds for it. But because it's within a city facility or the village facility, we just make sure that things are being run properly, and for the good of the community per se. And Don does a good job with it, and so there hasn't had to be a lot of oversight of what's happening. They've got their own board of directors, some well-known names in the Green Bay area that help run and give Don direction on how that facility is being run. But yeah, I'll give Don a jingle and see if we can get him in here at one of our upcoming meetings for just an update on how things are going as a whole.
Yeah, just to keep communication lines open. You never know what's going to happen in the future, and all of a sudden if we get hit with something, maybe it's not some good news, and people are up here, the new people that have no idea what the situation is are caught off guard going, well, what is our involvement,
Right.
in this? And yeah.
Well, on top of that, and this has been, obviously, when COVID hit, this was on the back burner to begin with, but it's really on the back burner now. But it's still there. There was always talk about even putting in a fourth sheet of ice at Cornerstone and potentially having again, this had to do with St. Norbert, and is St. Norbert, is rink number one meeting the needs of St. Norbert hockey? With the locker room and the viewing areas and stuff like that. And so then there was talk back in the day with the past president of actually maybe doing a fourth sheet of ice to the south. So that footprint would actually go into part of the tennis courts, that area to the south. So that is something that is still out there. Probably not high on anyone's list right now in terms of funding or priority-wise, but it's something that in the future could potentially come up. We've talked with Don about, and just kind of checking in, what's the status, so on and so forth. So,
yeah,
something else there to talk about.
Right. I agree with you. I think Don does a nice job. It'd just be nice to maybe even once a year annually, just keep that communication.
Sure.
going. So,
Sure.
yeah. Okay, thanks.
Being done behind the scenes, but I will make sure we get him in here and so that you can hear it right from the horse's mouth and ask him questions directly.
Right, okay.
Rex, this morning I walked through Sherwood Park, and I noticed on the new trail edition, there were a number of the story book pages missing. And I'm wondering if that's a result of weather or vandalism or...
That was the result of vandalism number 2. So we had a story at Sherwood. First one turned out well. Second one, some signs were taken, thrown in the pond, ripped, typical older kid stuff probably. We moved some of those signs over to Hidden Valley. That was the third story that we did at Hidden Valley. And then we moved it back to Sherwood for this month. As of Saturday morning, all the signs were in place. Mel put the stuff out on October 1st. We got, a good 2.5 weeks in. Sometime Saturday afternoon or Saturday night, about half the signs were kicked or ripped. And I actually saw them on Sunday morning when I was walking my dog in Sherwood with my wife. And so we pulled the signs that were in bad shape out. And Mel went and grabbed the signs, the remaining signs this afternoon, actually. So it's a really popular program. It's actually advertised on a number of Facebook pages, not ours, like, you know, Green Bay Mom groups and things like that, things to do with your kids. I think the why, there's a lot, I mean, it's really become a really kind of cool program that people know about. But obviously, we don't have trail cameras or anything like that to find out, you know, what's happening out in the trail. And it takes a couple of knuckleheads that,
Yeah.
you know, to ruin it. So Mel and I were talking today of whether we want to put them back in, you know, because the signs are ripped, so we need to reprint the signs, and we would take them over to Schoolhouse. Schoolhouse laminates them for us, and we put them on those cardboard signs, kind of like a rummage sale type sized sign. I think what we're going to do, what we had decided is we're going to call it quits for this month. I mean, we got through a little over 2 weeks. And then we're going to, for the November trail or walk, we're going to have it in Waterford. And Waterford has a walking path around the exterior of the park, a lot more in the open, surrounded by homes. So people will be able to keep a little bit more of an eye on it.
I was a little
At least for
disappointed.
this month.
I was a little disappointed because I didn't get all of the story. Maybe I can find the book someplace.
There you go. Any other questions?
Just was gonna add that I noticed you had Clipstein in here, that they're also getting a new mound put in, pitcher's mound. Coach Krieger had reported that.
Yes, they're getting a new mound. Midwest Sports Fields is putting in a new mound. It might be in already. I haven't even seen it. It was supposed to be in last week, but it might have been pushed due to the weather. So when Clipstein was rebuilt about 5 years ago, the AYB board at the time, as well as at the high school, decided that they would leave it moundless, which would make it a lot easier to have different age groups playing on that field. And then they purchased a portable mound that could be moved, you know, to different pitching distances to make it work for whatever age group they were working on. Like anything else, boards change, ideas change, thoughts change. We should have a permanent mound. So now we're doing the permanent mound, and I believe there will be a donation for that. I believe the Kirchmar family is contributing to allow that mound to go in.
Yep, that was the rumor he brought as well to the Ashwaubenon
So
board.
Ed and Joanne Kirchmar, who obviously, Ed is a longtime baseball coach, high school baseball Hall of Fame coach for the state of Wisconsin. That's who the field is named for. They've been great in terms of working with the village and the school district to keep that a field to be proud of. And that support, I think, will be continuing with the new mound installation this week or very shortly.
And I know that AYB is also going to be redoing all the batting cage nets for Clipstein and Ashwaubenon, so that's coming down the pike. And I know they want to look at Field 4, so.
There's some fencing things there that we've talked about in the past that need to be corrected. Some fencing issues, heaving posts, dugout areas, that type of thing.
Rex, I have a quick question on West Main Avenue, the planting beds by the roundabouts. I had brought this up at Bike Pad a while back, and De Pere came in and they cleared out and did all the work and cleaned them up for all of them except the farthest west one.
Yeah,
And I was just wondering, do we know, is that our responsibility? Is that De Pere's? Because they did everything else and left that one. So, and it looks like
Probably think well, and they should be aware of it. They probably think that one is theirs or ours, but it's not, it's theirs. That was, that all those beds were given to De Pere in lieu of the land swap. So basically, the land where Aldi's is right now in De Pere, right by the traffic circle there, and the land behind Aldi's, that used to be a small pocket of Village of Ashwaubenon land. And we had to go out there with our public works trucks and crews and plow the roads in that one block. It's just an odd thing because there's no one, it was very inefficient, you know, because you're going out there just for this one little area behind, well, Aldi's wasn't there at the time, but, you know, that area. And so part of that was that we gave them that land. Take it, but if we give it to you, then you're responsible for the landscape beds on both sides of Highway 41. And so they're all theirs. So, and I believe that was in the agreement, and that had to be probably 10 years ago that agreement was made.
Well, maybe if someone could just check on that and see that they understand that's theirs and not ours, or make sure that that is the case, because like I said, it's so overgrown. It's an entrance to our community and it just looks like heck, you know?
Okay. Don't disagree.
Anything else?
Either that or they can give us back Aldi's.
You can get what?
Either that, if they don't want to do it, then maybe they'll give us back Aldi's.
There you go.
Now that it's developed.
There you go. Sounds good.
All right. I think I'd probably speak on behalf of the board, and I know it's probably summers are, I would guess, your busiest time of the year. And
It's busy managing all the different things that are going on. It's hectic.
and thank you for all what you guys did, Rex and David and Melanie, all the hard work you guys put in this summer season, and very much appreciated. And I know the community appreciates it. Very nice job.
Thank you for the thank you.
Items for next agenda. Anything? All right. Take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make,
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Mark, you want to stay a while?
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
We're adjourned.